Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to an early episode of We Watch Shudder, coming in on a Wednesday morning this week. My name's JD. I don't know. We've never done this on a Wednesday before. Who's here with me?
It's Michelle, and technically it's still Tuesday, so we still haven't done this on a Wednesday.
Well, it's Tuesday when we're recording this, Michelle, but it's going to be Wednesday when they're listening to it. Also,
I'm sorry to Amelia Bedelia.
Technically, we have done this on every Wednesday in October. If you, who cares about the days? Time is a flat circle, and it's an illusion anyway. We're off to a heck of a start. Michelle, how you doing? You feeling all right this week?
I am feeling great. How about you, JD?
Oh man, what a time it's been behind the scenes here at the life of JD. But do you have big Thanksgiving plans for the week? You gonna go eat the bird somewhere and then do all that family stuff or whatever?
I am going to devote 4 days to playing Yakuza like a dragon.
Oh man, you're just gonna.
I'm a very exciting person.
That's all right. Fair enough. I'm probably gonna hop on over to Jamestown on Thursday to see Ma, and have some turkey and all that stuff. My biggest thing about this whole season is I could give a rip about the turkey or most of the. I fucking love stuffing season, and I feel like. You could very easily go to the store and buy stuffing at literally any time of the year, but there's something about having it in the late autumn and early winter. You got to have it during stuffing season, but I have like 5 assorted boxes of stuffing in my cabinet right now, so I'm really excited about the stuffing.
Do you ever feel jealous of the turkey because it gets to be full of that stuffing to an extent that you and I never will?
Oh, that's where you're wrong, Michelle. I'm actually having it written into my last will and testament that's how I want to be buried, is I want to be hollowed out and stuffed with stuffing and then put in the casket and put in the ground.
Oh, so we don't get to eat the stuffing. That's even sadder.
Well, I guess if you really wanted to, I'm going to be right there at the funeral. You know, you're going to have to... if you want to...
That's how you feed all the guests.
Maybe that's what we'll do. Maybe we'll just make it like an open bar sort of thing. Just sort of leave the top open. Because, they're definitely going to have to cut me open to find out how I went. That's for sure. Well, this podcast just took a real weird turn for several minutes at the beginning. Normally, we're here to talk about movies. Isn't that what we do, Michelle?
Sometimes. Yeah, for the most part.
You're very helpful tonight, Michelle. Thank you.
I'm just going with the flow. I'm good. It's a Tuesday night. They can't have me at my ultra perfect podcast host.
If you can't handle me at my Tuesday, you don't deserve me at my Friday. I think that's what so Marilyn,
true.
What's her name, said.
Exactly.
Well, if this is the first time you've tuned in, thank you for surviving this long and not turning it off yet. Here at We Watch Shudder, that's what it's all about. We watch Shudder. We watch original and exclusive releases from the horror streaming service Shudder. I got a cough. Michelle, take over.
Yes, today we are watching Blood Relatives, or we have at least seen Blood Relatives. We watched it. Now we're talking about it. It's on Shudder.
Professionals would have a cough button or have edited that whole situation out. I'm just going to go in and reduce any volumes that need to be reduced, and it's going to be fine.
I definitely feel like our raw energy adds to our appeal and is also our downfall.
I'm definitely not going to do a second take of this. So.
No, God, no.
Oh, God, no.
Do you want me to read from the Shudder website what it says about Blood Relatives so we can get this train going?
Before you do that, there's something actually that's been on my mind throughout the day here today that I want to point out. I'm not going to name any names or nothing, but you sent me a screen grab earlier today. Where somebody gave us a 5-star rating, and I love that. Like, I love the 5-star ratings. If you're on Apple Podcasts or Google Pods or wherever you listen to us, if you can rate us, guys, please rate us. And if you can rate us like a 5, that would be the dopest. If you don't think we're a 5, that's fine. We tell people that we don't think they're 5s all the time, so we got to be able to handle. Yeah, we got to be able to handle that ourselves. But Anyway, somebody gave us a 5-star rating, said they thought it was a fantastic podcast or something to that effect. But then they said that we're bad hosts about giving out a lot of spoilers. And I feel like, first of all, we tend to have a very, in fact, absurdly attention-drawn spoiler warning in every one of these episodes. But also then I got to thinking about it, and I think it's some of these Shudder website descriptions. I don't know who's responsible for writing those, if it's like the filmmakers themselves or if it's some intern somewhere. I don't know who it is, but man, somebody got to teach them not to give away their movies and those things. I don't know if that's going to happen here. I haven't even read it myself, but it's been on my mind all day.
I can say that this description definitely does give away too much, and that I also have been thinking about that rating because I always want to improve. I want people to like us. Thank you for giving us the 5-skull rating, but I'm like, oh God, have I? Because I know that sometimes my mouth speaks before my brain processes, and I'm going to make a better effort. But it's totally Shudder descriptions too.
As long as you've read ahead and you know it's kind of spoilery, let's do this real quick and dirty. Just tell us your very general thoughts in like a single sentence and give you the score, and we'll read the description in the spoiler section.
Yeah. So one of the advertisements for this movie said it was a vampire movie unlike anything that had been seen before. And I think it is very hard to top the #1 vampire movie of all time, a.k.a. Twilight. And then all the follow-up Twilight movies get the corresponding rankings until this movie. No, I'm kidding. This movie is way better than Twilight. I enjoyed it. It was the ABC family of vampires. I'm going to give it a 4.25.
4.25 skulls from Michelle. A vampire movie unlike any you've ever seen before. And yes, I absolutely agree with that, and I absolutely agree with you. This was a lot of fun. It was a very unique movie. Definitely not a horror movie. This is the definition of what we talk about as horror adjacent when we talk about Shudder. It is about vampires, and there are a few vampire-y things in here, but if you're looking for a real horror kind of movie, maybe not for you. I loved this, though. I'm a little bit ahead of you. I came in at a 4.5.
Nice.
Yeah.
So 4.25 skulls, 4.5 skulls. That averages out to 4.375 skulls out of 5.
If you don't want any spoilers, now is when you're going to want to push the pause button. Just make sure you come back after you watch the movie and listen to the rest of it. We'd appreciate that. Hit that pause button right now. All right. So we're in the spoiler section. Michelle, please read for us. You know, now that I think about it, considering how frequently some of those descriptions are super spoilery, we might want to actually consider this. We may have pulled a smart format adjustment out of a silly
criticism of ourselves that we took too seriously and fixated on for several hours. Any hoozle. Francis, a 115-year-old Yiddish vampire, still looks 35. He's been roaming American back roads in his beat-up muscle car for decades, keeping to himself and liking it that way. One day, Jane, a teenager, shows up. She says she's his daughter, and she's got the fangs to prove it. They go on the road, deciding whether to sink their teeth into Family Life, a Shudder original.
Yeah, that is actually kind of...
Yep.
I
think you're onto something.
Yeah, that is... it's spoilery in not like ultimate outcomes kind of ways, but it's definitely spoilery in ways it shouldn't be. So we did that right, putting that in this section. And that does give you a really good breakdown of what this movie is about. From that standpoint, that's actually a really good summary of the film. Tell us, Michelle, about your experience with this as, again, a vampire movie unlike any you've seen before.
I don't think I have ever seen a vampire who spoke Yiddish. And I will also admit that vampire is like not the thing I know a lot about. I'm a zombies person, all zombies. I know all the things about all the different zombies. So vampires, I'm definitely lacking knowledge in that area, but I'm curious about like the religion of vampires in general. Is he still Jewish? Is he just Yiddish? What is the difference between those two? Does he celebrate Hanukkah? Like, these are the questions that I just started going down a path with, and I don't know if that's ever been answered by a movie. It definitely wasn't answered during this movie, and now I'm just going to fixate on that at 3 a.m. There's a scene with Josh Rubin, and he steals the show, and that almost gave it a 5 skull from me, because I think that I've accidentally fallen in love with Josh Rubin, and here's the thing: I am happily married to a man who is way too good for me, and despite the fact that Josh Rubin and I have never met and have never even had a conversation on social media, we'll probably have nothing in common, I still just I love that man, and I would take a bullet for him.
Yeah, his scene in this movie is really fantastic. Quick note on that. If you love Josh Rubin, wait till next week. Are you aware of what we're watching next week, Michelle? We'll talk about that at the end of the podcast. What am I doing? I'm getting ahead of myself. Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Of course you are. So Yiddish is predominantly used, because I had to look this up myself because I wanted to make sure I talked about it properly. Yiddish is predominantly a language spoken by Ashkenazi Jews in sort of Central or Western Europe and it's West Germanic, I guess, is what it says here. But then the term is also sometimes used to refer to those Jewish cultures that spoke that language, that dialect. So yeah, it's I thought that was hilarious. For just the most how
schlepping across the country.
How has he not dropped that? And I love that general idea of he's this clearly 100-and-something-year-old vampire at the very least, yet he hasn't kept up with the world. Right? His slang is still old Yiddish.
He doesn't have a
slang.
cell phone.
He doesn't know what Facebook is. He doesn't know anything. He barely understands cell phones, like you said. Yeah, it's I loved that whole characterization. But also I feel when I stopped to think about it a little bit, I thought it was a really unique idea about vampires, that idea of getting kind of trapped maybe in certain periods of time because you are yourself timeless in a lot of ways. I thought that was a really interesting idea. The movie is fantastically funny. I really it's very much a kind of a buddy comedy in the sense of but it's father and hey. I'm your kid. My mom died, so it's that movie. We've all seen that movie, right? Where somebody ends up getting hooked up with a kid. Hooked up is not the words I wanted to use there. Oh my God. But they get put together with a kid that I'm trying way too hard to not say really weird things right now. But
your phrasing was correct. It just sounds weird. You're okay. Continue. We all know what you meant. Probably. Hopefully. Oh, dear God. Don't take that out of context.
I thought the way they melded those two things together was very interesting. I thought they presented him as he's like, I don't like that I have to kill people, and I don't exactly have to kill people, but if I want to stay a certain kind of healthy and have a certain look and that sort of thing, I need to and so he does go out of his way to try and go after people that he's deemed are bad people, which is, I guess somewhat admirable in a way, but I thought it was such an interesting collision of those of who says I want to make the movie where the guy finds out he has a 15-year-old kid and has to learn to be a dad out of nowhere, but that guy is a vampire. I was so caught up in just the idea of it all. It plays out wonderfully. And apparently that person is Noah. Noah, last name is escaping me. Segan, who both wrote and directed this movie as well as starring in it. I feel like I have rambled and rambled, but man, I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. It was a lot of fun.
So did you get the vibes that this was like the dorkiest vampire you've ever seen?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was
sure.
like, I've never seen such like a nerd, and I was like, no, I've never seen such a dork. And I think that's what I was like. There's nothing like super cool or like sexually attractive in the way that vampires stereotypically are. Where I'm like, you are not overly sexual.
You are probably not. I know you are not going to understand this reference, but many of the people listening to us might. If you are a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan, think of this guy as like, what if Jonathan, Jonathan from the Superstar episode, what if Jonathan was a vampire? And it's amazing. It's so great. He's that guy who thinks he's so cool. He thinks he's so badass. He's got the tough car and the leather jacket. And this girl comes into his life and just skewers every delusion of cool that this man has about himself. And it's beautiful. It's so great.
It must really suck to be a vampire right at the get turned into a vampire right at the I didn't mean to do that. I'm hilarious without trying. So it must suck to get turned into a vampire when you're going through a midlife crisis, because then you never leave that midlife crisis. And I think that's what happened to him, because he was just stuck like, I'm middle-aged, but I'm super cool. And I do need to take back that I've never seen such a dorky vampire, because Colin Robinson definitely fits that bill. You watch What We Do in the Shadows, right?
No, I have not.
Dear God. Okay,
look,
that's upsetting.
Well, you've barely seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so maybe we're on equal footing.
I watched like 3 episodes and I went, eh.
Yeah, whose fault is that, Michelle? Anyway,
this is one of those movies that I had to go and dig into the IMDb a little bit about, because I could not figure out who these people were, but I knew some of them, like the lady from Rent, who Joanne, I want to say, the one who is in a relationship with Maureen, she's in this. So I was like, there's a lot of like names I already know, but I did not know who the 2 main people were, so I had to go check that out.
See, that's wild to me, because like the moment he showed up on screen, I immediately recognized Noah Segan as the guy from the Mr. short in Scare Package, the one where there's like the support group for dudes, and then
Don't
it turns
spoil
out,
it.
Oh yeah,
in case they haven't seen that one.
Right? Yeah, anyway,
that one I will catch you on.
Yeah, I recognized him from that immediately,
and that kind of fits into while I was doing my IMDb digging, I saw the producers are Aaron B. Koontz and Cameron Burns, also with Scare Package. And Scare Package, if you haven't seen it, it's basically a movie made by horror fans, for horror fans, where it goes into all those tropes. And that's what this movie felt like. Somebody who really understands vampires made this and went, what have we not seen before? And I just like that they're doing stuff that's specifically for horror fans. And thank you, Aaron and Cameron and Noah and Victoria Morales.
Yeah, did you happen to see who else was a producer on this movie, Michelle?
I'm sure I read a name, but I am not thinking of anybody right this second.
Josh Rubin.
Oh, was he a producer?
Yeah, he was also a producer on this
Josh
movie.
Rubin.
His appearance.
No, I'm not. I swear to God, I'm not that weird.
Yeah, his appearance in this film as that Renfield type character was phenomenal. You're right. He very much almost completely steals the show. But the other thing about this movie, though, that I really like is, it's a fun comedy. It's a great sort of riff on some things we've seen before, but it's got genuine heart, right? It's legit. It's not just jokes. This works as like a father-daughter bonding sort of thing, and it's very much aside from the vampire stuff, it's a very believable story. And the chemistry between the two of them is fantastic. Victoria Morales was awesome here with Noah Segan. I really enjoyed this movie on that level as well.
Yeah, I think if somebody goes into this, which is how I go into all movies that we watch and they have the mentality of I'm ready to see something that's scary or unnerving, they're going to be disappointed because for a little bit I was disappointed, but then I had to take myself out of that mindset and say, okay, as a movie, if I was just watching something on HBO that I stumbled across and I saw this, I think it would be better.
Yeah, that's why I did want to make it clear that this is not a horror movie. This is horror adjacent. There are definitely a couple of moments where they play with some horror elements to get it, but again, more for comedic value than other things, which reminds me, Michelle. So this movie, I thought it was very enjoyable on a number of levels, including very funny. There are 2 moments in this movie where I burst out in hysterical laughter here this evening watching the movie at home, and I'm wondering if you can guess what the 2 moments were that I found. So, in fact, both of them so funny that I had to pause the movie and catch my breath before I could continue the movie.
Were they during the Josh Rubin scene at all?
No.
Okay. Nope. No idea. I just laughed at the puns the whole time, and I know that you would not have giggled delightfully.
The puns were great, don't get me wrong, but no, the 2 things that made me explode, I guess maybe we've never talked about this before. I am a big slapstick fan. When she hauls off to punch that lady from the motel and knocks her head into the wall and that lady's head caves in against the wall, I fucking erupted.
Wait, can I guess what the second one is then?
Yes.
If it's similar, was it when she goes into the building, the security guard is shit-talking his wife and she kills him and the main guy's like, well, that was expected.
No.
Or deserved or whatever.
No.
Okay. Then I don't know.
The other one, like that, I actually had to rewind that thing and watch her punch that lady again. It was so fucking out of the blue. Oh my God, it was so great. But the other one is when they're at the biker bar towards the end, where he's taking her on the hunt, where they're trying to bond over killing a dude, and he opens up the trunk and she lunges at him with her fangs, and he just fucking terror vomits right in her face. Fucking perfect. It was so good.
Oh my God. I don't know if JD's okay, you guys.
I'm telling you, just sitting here thinking about both of them. I laughed so hard at both of those moments I had to pause the movie. They're just so great. And I think they work so much on that level because I was so caught up in the movie that they do just come out of fucking nowhere. And they're just... They're using those horror elements in just the most delightful way. It's the joy of an infant child squishing a bug, right? It's ultimately in the abstract pretty terrible, but come on, it's squishy.
I kind of just want to end that as our high note because you are like inconsolable and red, and I feel like that's a good moment. That kind of captures what this movie was about.
Yeah,
I just laughed at the puns. I really liked the puns. I liked how dorky Noah was. I was just like, you midlife crisis dad.
I also very much enjoyed the persistent presence of that sort of right-wing conspiracy theorist radio DJ that pops up periodically.
Yeah, there were direct
movie.
Things from Alex Jones on that radio.
Yeah, it was pretty great. It's just it's a really enjoyable movie. A lot of fun, a lot of good times here. I think people will enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Just don't go into it expecting to get scared. You will not.
No, not at all. No, this is a fun one. This is frankly. This is one that I personally, if I had children, would even not have a problem with letting my children watch. And that's probably why it's best that I don't have children, but that's another discussion for a totally different podcast. It's a real easy movie to watch if you're not a horror movie fan and you're not turned off by the fact that at this point you know literally every good part of the movie. Definitely go back and give it a shot. You might enjoy it.
Yeah, I think it's worth a rewatch, even though I know I'm gonna know everything that happens. Also, Doug Benson is in this.
Yes,
and Doug Benson is great.
It took me a minute to recognize him. I was like, I know, who is that? I fucking know that. And then it just hit me, and I was like, oh, you motherfucker, is Doug Benson.
Love it.
Also, if you're a punk rock fan, Ben Foster, aka Ben Weasel of the band Screeching Weasel, did most of the music for this movie. I know that Ben Foster, man, that's an interesting fella. He got himself in a whole bunch of trouble about 10, 11 years ago because he got in a fight with a drunk lady at a show. Read all about it on Wikipedia. I don't know why I brought that up, except the music, I don't know, the music's really good. Screeching Weasel is a good punk band. It's, and I feel like, maybe everybody has a chance to make amends and whatnot. It's good jams. But, wow, that was a real fucking... Why'd you take that tangent, JD? Yeah, we're leaving this part in the episode, too. Even the sad, ridiculous ending. It's good jams, though, was the point I was trying to make. I really enjoyed the music in this movie. We should probably stop talking. Say goodnight, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle?